So we are going to be talking about a very special piece, and the piece might freak out some people if they don't know what it is. If you tell them it's a Magnificat, they will have no idea what you're talking about, and their brain is going to turn off. It's going to shut down like this. They're going to hear Magnificat, and their brain is going to say, I don't know what that is, and because I don't know what that is, I don't care about it. Okay? So before we even start talking about the piece, we need to know what a Magnificat is. And I'm going to have you guys tell me what a Magnificat is. I would only add one point to the beginning of it. We have to go to Mass on Sundays, unless you are absolved, right, from the obligation. For example, if you're sick or if you're in the hospital, you don't have to go to church. But normally we have to go to Mass on Sundays. In the Middle Ages, they had to go to Mass, but they also had to attend the Divine Office. So that was part of the Sunday obligation. And so now we don't have to do that anymore. We just have to go to Mass, okay? But how many of you, can you raise your hands, have ever attended any part of the Divine Office at church, such as Vespers or Compline? Karen? Are you there, Karen?
I didn't hear what you said. What was that? You were cutting in and out.
Okay. Do you not have a good connection?
Not very good where I'm at.
Okay, the question is, have you been to Vespers before? Karen, I might want to call you back.
What did you ask?
Karen, I might want to call you back when you have a better connection, okay?
Okay.
Because
yeah, it's cutting in and out. I'm so sorry.
I'll call you back when you have a better connection, okay?
All right.
Is that okay? You're frozen. Okay. All right. So everybody here has been to Vespers, is that correct?
Yeah.
Compline as well is the night prayer. Some of you have been to Compline. Okay, so a lot of people have not been to that before. So, Emily, what do you think Vespers is?
Well, from what I know, I think Vespers is like part of the Divine Office. I think is in the afternoon.
Come a little bit closer to your computer and talk louder.
All right. I think from what I know, Vespers is like that part of the Divine Office that's sung like in the afternoon. It has a lot of psalms.
It has a lot of psalms. I think it's more towards the evening. It's called the evening sacrifice, okay? Now, Jordan, do priests always say the Divine Office at the proper hours?
Well, they should.
They should. Is that all priests should at the right time?
Well, I think that especially the early morning matins, the timing has changed over the years as to when they actually say them. But I think priests are obligated to say the Divine Office every day.
They are every day. There's a raging debate about when they should say it. In other words, strict monks, they get up in the middle of the night and they say each hour at the right time. So they get up in the middle of the night, they say 1 hour, they say Vespers in the evening, they say Matins in morning. Normally, I don't want to start a debate here, but normally what we call secular priests, in other words, priests who are not monks, normally say the Divine Office whenever they can. Okay? So Father Fryer is very busy, so I believe he usually gets up at 4:30 every morning and says his Divine Office before anything else can happen to him. Because he has duties, he has to do all these things that monks don't have to do. And actually, there's a hilarious story when they revised the office in the 60s, they brought the Divine Office to the Pope, John the 23rd. And they were so proud because they had done all this work to revise the office to make it more perfect so that the priest would be able to say it. They cut out a lot of the prayers so the priest could say it at the right time. And John the 23rd, Pope St. John the 23rd, he said, they brought him the office that they had fixed, it's been years, and he goes, I love the divine office. He says, I say mine every morning before Mass. So, in other words, usually what happens is the priests who are very busy say the divine office whenever they can, okay? Have you all heard the story about the monks in the early United States where they would have to pull off the highway and you'd see the monk kneeling in front of the cars? Do you remember that? The time they were traveling and the time was running out for them to say their divine office, so they have to pull over on the side of the road and say the divine office by the headlights of their car. This was in the 1930s and 1940s and so forth, when there weren't interior lights in the cars. So, leaving that aside, monasteries usually say the divine office at the right times, and secular priests usually have more freedom in terms of when they say it. But Sunday Vespers, as you know, our parish does it, right? Our parish has Sunday Vespers, which is bringing the parishioners a tiny bit into the life of the priest. Now, Ashley, how long do you think it takes to say the divine office, Ashley, every day for a priest?
Maybe like an hour.
I think it's closer to an hour and a half. I suppose it depends on the day, but it's a lot. It's a lot of prayer every day. It's a mortal sin for them not to say that. They are not obligated to say Mass, but they are obligated to say the divine office every day. So, what happens, Iffy, at the end of Vespers? What's the big conclusion to Vespers every time?
Fideli manime per misericordiam Dei requiescant in pace.
Not that part. A little bit before. A little bit before. The big thing.
Magnificat.
Magnificat. Okay. And what is the Magnificat, Miguel?
That's the prayer of Our Lady, right?
Our Lady's own hymn. It is the words that she said. I don't think we have very many words recorded that she said, but we do have the Magnificat, okay? And so that is what it is. And there's nothing stopping people from saying Vespers every day. Catholics can say Vespers every day. They can say, if they want, they can say the entire divine office every day. And so maybe we should start saying at least 1 hour every day with our families. However, at a minimum, we say Vespers in our church, okay? Now, have you noticed that I often improvise on the organ, Pete, in Vespers?
Oh, yeah.
And when does that happen?
I have, yes. It's right before the Gloria.
When they're doing what?
They're incensing.
They're
The
incensing
people
everybody, right?
was, yes. Yeah.
They're incensing everybody. And of course, with the
Correct.
chapters in cathedrals, they would have had a bunch more priests and prelates to incense, okay? So that is when the Magnificat is sung. And why am I improvising again, Pete? On the organ?
Not entirely sure.
Well, if there's nothing else going on, it would just be silence, right?
Is that-
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So to fill up the silence, I usually improvise on the organ, okay? But what we're talking about today is a more full setting, okay? And I want to try at least once a month. We have enough choir members. I know everyone won't be able to come, but we want to try at least once a month to have a solemn Vespers where we sing full Magnificat, so that we don't have to play, so I don't have to improvise, okay? So we could advertise it that way in the bulletin. We could say, come and sing so that Jeff doesn't have to improvise on the organ, okay? So let's look a little bit at this piece and see what we can learn about this piece, okay? How many church modes are there, Jordan?
4.
You could look at it that way. Why do you say 4?
I think 4 is just the number I can recall at the moment, but it sounds like there might be 5.
Well, we always talk about the 8 church modes.
Okay, there you go.
In Greek, the octo ekos. But you could actually think of it as being 4 because 1 and 2 are basically the same. 3 and 4 are basically the same. 5 and 6 are basically the same. 7 and 8 are basically the same in a certain sense. Does that make sense? You could think of it as 4, but
4 categories as opposed to, right, okay.
4 termination notes, if you will. D, E, F, and G. Those are basically the modes. Now, there is an extra mode, which is the tonus peregrinus, which means the wandering tone because it's a little different than the other tones. You sing it at Vespers, that long psalm that you sing. That's the tonus peregrinus, okay? I believe we have a bird in English that's called that, don't we? A peregrine? Peregrine? It'd be interesting to see how that relates to the tonus peregrinus, which means wandering tone or pilgrim tone. Pilgrims are people who go from shrine to shrine, okay? But generally, we talk about the 8 church modes, okay? Now, who wants to tell me what mode this Magnificat is in? Who wants to tell me?
The starting part sounds like 4. No?
Look at page 2. Look at page 2 of your PDF.
7.
7? Yeah. At the
Okay.
bottom too.
Jordan, I believe you said it first. What makes you say mode 7?
It says tonus 7 on the second page.
Yes, that's right. And it also says, can you read the words, please? Guerrero's soprano and so forth.
Guerrero's soprano compared to mode 7, psalm tone from Salem and Poutet.
That's right.
Yeah.
So that would be mode 7. I wrote it for you guys. Make sense?
And is that the original text there, Jeff? What's that graphic
Yeah, well, we're gonna get to that.
from Guerrero's manuscript? Where is this from?
Yes, we're gonna be talking about that. The most important thing right now is that we all understand this is mode 7.
Okay.
Do we all get that? Okay, Miguel, can you sing the Salem version of that says "Et exultavit spiritus meus"? Do you see that in that little box there?
Yes, the Et exultavit spiritus meus.
Yeah, go ahead and sing that.
Okay, give me a second.
Let me see if I can point to you. If I share my screen here, let me see if I can point. Does it let me point? Do you see what I'm pointing at?
Yes.
Okay, so all you have to do is sing that.
Any pitch, right?
Any
Starting.
Any pitch.
All right, here. Et exultavit spiritus meus. Shall I continue?
Yes.
In Deo salutari meo.
Okay, Iffy, sing that.
Et exultavit spiritus meus in Deo salutari meo.
Okay, Jordan, sing that. You want to skip? Come back?
Yeah.
Emily, sing that.
Et exultavit spiritus meus, in Deo salutari Deo.
Okay, do we recognize that tone, guys?
Yeah.
It's one of the 8 modes, okay? Do you see that the Editio Medicea is a little bit different? It's right underneath it. Do you see that? How many people here? Pete, do you see that? Oh, you don't have the score.
I do. I was able to print it. Within the parentheses?
Within that box there, I'm trying to point. I don't know if you can see my pointer. It says tonus 7 period.
It's very tiny on my screen.
Oh.
Yeah,
Well, okay,
I see it.
we'll come back to you. Jordan, do you see tonus 7?
Yes.
Iffy, do you see it?
Yes.
Ashley, are you still there?
Yeah.
I don't see you, but I trust that you're there. Do you see it? That it says tonus 7 period. It's the Editio Medicea. Do you got that?
Yeah.
So can I sing this for you guys?
Mhm.
It's a little bit different. It goes, et exultavit spiritus meus in Deo salutari meo. Do you hear that little difference there? You have 2 notes on the spiritus and so forth. Instead of being spiritus meus, it's spiritus meus. Make sense? Let me come back in. I feel like I'm a little bit isolated from you guys. I can't see you, and now I can see you. People, raise your right hand if it makes sense. Raise your left hand if it makes sense. What I'm trying to get across to you is, over the last 2,000 years, mode 7 has basically sounded the same. Okay? Is that clear? Noemi, is that clear?
Yes.
I'm not saying that throughout 2,000 years, it has always been exactly the same. What I'm saying is, it's pretty much the same. Is that clear? Okay. Now, so remind me, Jordan, how many church modes are there?
We said 8.
8. And what mode is this Magnificat? Are you in an earthquake over there? You're moving around a lot. Are you there?
Sorry, can you hear? Yeah, sorry, I had some technical difficulty. 7. Obviously, we just talked about it.
Okay, cool. Yeah, it looks like you're in an earthquake over there.
Yeah, it's a golf course. It's a golf tournament.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
I
8
thought
modes, and
your
this is
daughter
mode
had
7.
her birthday the other day. Was it the Feast of St. Vita? Is that her birthday?
Well, Saint Zita is her name is Zita, and Saint Zita's feast was a couple days ago.
Does she share that with that saint? Is it the same?
No, it's not the same day. Her birthday is April 6th, but Zita's feast is the 27th.
Got it. Okay. Okay, so the question is, how many, if you're a composer, let's say living 500 years ago, Hannah, how many Magnificats, if you go to, you wake up one morning and you want to write a series of Magnificats, how many Magnificats are you going to write? Based on what Jordan just said. Hannah, based on what Jordan just said.
I don't know, 7? 1?
How many church modes are there?
8.
8. So wouldn't you want to write 8 different settings? Hannah?
Not exactly, that's too much work.
Huh?
I mean, yeah, I guess.
Yes, because depending on which antiphon it's used, you have to be able to match it, correct?
Yes.
So if you write 8 different settings in one in each mode, do you see how you are set? Okay.
Yes.
Now, Ashley, when we sing Vespers, how do we alternate the verses?
Men and women. Well, the men sing first and then the women sing.
So who sings the first verse? Magnificat anima mea et exultavit spiritus meus. Who sings that? I'm sorry. The first verse is Magnificat anima mea. Who sings that?
The cantor.
Well, he sings Magnificat.
Uh-huh.
And then
the men
which
sing
which gender sings the rest?
the male gender.
And what about verse 2?
Then the women sing.
Verse 3?
Men.
And so forth, okay? So, Hannah, what I asked you was a little bit of a trick question. You know why? Because when they set the Magnificats, they only set every other verse, okay? So usually what composers do is they actually write 16 settings. You know that? Because then they write 8 that have the odd verses and 8 that have the even verses, okay? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Now this is every composer you've ever heard of writes Magnificats like this, okay? So let's look a little bit about this piece, okay? Now, whom have I not picked on? Iffy. What do you see in the contour? Do you see that? Does everyone see a big giant E that has a bird on it? 2 birds. Honey?
Yes.
Honey? Sorry, I need to get some more water here in a second. Does anyone not see a big giant E with birds on it? Okay. Now, Pete, what is that? What are we looking at there? That big giant E, what is it?
It's the E of et.
What's that? Well, oh,
It's
that's
the
right. It's the
E.
E. It's the E of
Right.
et. Yes, it is. But what are we looking at? What is that?
I'm not entirely sure. I remember they had significance.
Why don't
And
you look at
all
the
of
first?
the
Why don't you look at the first 2 words next to it? The first two words. It starts with It starts with G U E R R. Come on.
Guerrero Soprano.
Exactly. That's what we're looking at. What did he say, Hannah? What is it?
Guerrero, Soprano.
And what does that mean, Hannah?
Needs the we sing it?
Yes, it means that the sopranos sing from that score. Okay. Are we clear on that?
Yeah.
Okay. Iffy, what do you see on the other page? Do you see a giant T? A giant T. Do you see a giant T, Iffy?
Do I see a giant T?
On page 3. Let me show you my
page-
screen. Let me show you my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yes, I can see your screen.
And what is this giant T?
I don't see what you're pointing. Is that tenor? I'm gonna guess tenor because I can't see what you're pointing.
Okay, but well, how many giant decorative T's do you see?
Just one. I'm gonna say it's tenor.
Okay. And Jordan, do you see a giant decorative C, as in?
Contratenor. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Good. I couldn't think of a C word. And Ashley, do you see a giant lowercase b, as in
Bass.
baby?
Yes.
And what is that for?
The bass line.
Okay. Why does it look like it says Bafus?
Is that like Latin for bass or something?
Well, look at the italics right under that big, giant, huge bass.
Bassus. Yeah, I mean,
Bassus, exactly. Bassus. You got it?
mhm.
Okay. Now, this is the key. This is the reason why I invited you, all of you, to this this meeting or whatever we're having. Okay. So this is it. This is the big reveal. Okay. So let's see, Miguel. What is it that you see about that soprano that would be what we're talking about? The contour of that soprano line. What do you see about it?
What's a contour?
The shape of it.
Just kind of goes up,
Uh,
and then
let me give you a hint. Okay, sing that line again. Sing et exultavit. Sing it.
Et exultavit spiritus meus, in Deo salutavi meo.
Now, can you kind of try to sing the soprano line a little bit? Just try to sing it kind of a little bit.
Oh, it's supposed to match up. Is that what it is?
Do you see that it's almost exactly the same?
Yeah.
Et exultavit spiritus meus, in Deo salutari meo. Do you see that it's elongated and stretched out? Okay, so what Guerrero has done, and we'll talk about in a minute who is Guerrero, okay? But what he's done is he's taken that. Well, actually, Jordan, why don't you tell me what he's done?
What Guerrero has done in this soprano.
Apropos of what Miguel just explained to us.
Right. I mean, the shape of the of tone 7 chant of et exultavit mirrors the shape of at least the beginning of this soprano section.
You can take it further. You can say that he uses the melody of tone 7. He puts it into the soprano line almost unaltered, except that what's called augmentation, he stretches out the notes, okay? Does that make sense? Jordan?
Yes. Yes.
It's almost identical. There's a few tiny little things that he changes, okay? But what he does, and you will see this, I'm going to send you the recording, probably 45 minutes. It's taken us about a month to make. We'll send it 45 minutes after this call. We hang up, and it's absolutely incredible. He's taken that melody, and he's created the most powerful electric song that you could possibly imagine, okay? It's absolutely incredible. It's just powerful. Now, let's look at the next verse, okay? Ashley, as quickly as you can, read it to us. For Sacred Music Symposium 2020, we have replaced. Go ahead.
Wait, where are we?
We're on the next verse now. Page 4 of the PDF.
Oh, for Sacred Music Symposium 2020. Do you want me to read that?
Yes, ma'am.
For Sacred Music Symposium 2020, we have replaced the 4th verse with a verse by Father Cristobal de Morales, who taught Father Guerrero in Toledo. The psalm tone melody is used in augmentation, and we ask you to compare et sanctum nomen eius in bass and tenor, in brackets, to Father Guerrero's mente cordi sui in tenor, ending the 6th verse. Beware the minor start testing your tuning.
Okay. All right. Let's talk a little bit about what that means, okay? Now, Jordan, you've been to Spain, correct?
Yes.
Toledo is a city in Spain, correct?
Toledo. Yes.
Okay. So Father Guerrero, his picture's right there behind me. He was a priest, and he studied with another great composer named Father Morales, okay? And so what we did is, for verse, well, Noemi, what verse is Quia Fecit? What verse is that?
Is that 3?
Noemi, look at the score. Quia fecit mihi mania qui potens est. What verse is that?
4.
Verse 4. Okay, Hannah, who wrote verse 4 in this score? Who is the composer?
Or
Ashley just read it to you.
his name is Father Cristobal de Morales.
Exactly right. Okay. And what was Morales to Guerrero, Hannah?
He's the one who taught him how to.
His teacher, right?
Teacher, yeah.
Just like I'm your teacher, right? And you guys have to do whatever I tell you, right? Okay. Iffy, can you try to sing the tenor from 1542 that is printed there? Just give it a shot. Just give it a shot.
1 second. What am I looking at?
It's from 1542. It's at the top of the page.
Okay. Okay. Quia respexit humilitate.
No. Okay, guys, Iffy, we're on PDF page 4. Let me share my screen. Are you guys not? Is anyone not looking at this page? Is anyone not looking at this page?
Why am I not seeing that? That's not. See what he's doing.
Miguel, do you see this?
Yeah.
Okay, you try to sing it. I don't know if he's having a problem locating it.
The old style written thing, right?
1542 AD. That means year of
Oh,
our
yeah.
Lord.
Oh, that one. Okay, I see it.
Iffy,
Okay.
try it. You want to try it, Iffy? Go.
That's the one on the top of the page, right? The weird notation on top.
It's next to 1542 AD. Go.
Okay.
Try to sing it.
Quia fecit mihi mania qui potens est, et sanctum nomen et sanctum nomen eius.
And then it goes at sanctum nomen eius. So the notation is a little bit different, but it's basically quia fecit mihi mania qui potens est. Okay? You know what? I'm going to do something kind of cool here. Miguel, read the tenor line in the modern notation and read it in the modern notation. Quia fecit. Go ahead.
Qui fecit.
Quia.
Okay.
Start at the beginning. Start at the beginning.
Okay. Tempo.
So, qui. Go.
Okay. Qui. Fecit mihi mania qui potens est. However long it is.
Okay, and then it goes on. Jordan, what does that sound like?
What does it sound like? It sounds like what Iffy just sang.
Exactly. It's exactly the mode. It's the mode 7 psalm tone, exactly from the Editio Medicea. But what is different about it?
the augmentation that we talked about before.
Exactly, right? Like that huge three whole notes in a row at the end. How cool is that? Very cool. Iffy. Well, you probably wouldn't want to look at it before you sing that. Miguel, can you just do it one more time before we go on? Because people have to know what that is. Or did you all hear it properly? Did you hear it exactly right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you hear what Father Morales does. So do you see that he did the same thing that his student did in the first piece? Do you see that he did the same thing? Except what was different, Ashley, in the first piece? Which voice was it in the first time?
Soprano.
Soprano. And which verse is it in now, Hannah?
4. Are we still on that page?
What did Miguel just sing? Jordan, which voice is it in now?
The tenor.
Tenor. Okay. And look at the bass at the end. Do you see big giant? Here, I'll share my screen. Do you see big giant brackets down in measure 41? Please say yes, everyone.
Yeah.
Okay. Can I sing? Well, Miguel, why don't you sing that for them? Et sanctum nomen eius. Sing that.
Okay. Et sanctum nomen eius.
And now sing the tenor that has big brackets like that.
Et sanctum nomen eius.
Now, Ashley, do you remember reading? It says to compare. Go back and read that again where you read. And we ask you to compare. Read that, please. You read it earlier. And we ask you to compare.
So we have replaced the fourth verse with a verse by Father Cristo.
Yeah. Go down to where it says we ask you to compare.
And we ask you to compare et sanctum nomen eius in bass and tenor in the brackets to Father Guerrero's mente cordi sui in tenor, also in brackets, ending the sixth verse.
Okay, so Miguel, sing et sanctum nomen eius. Sing.
Sorry, I moved away from it. Okay. Et sanctum nomen.
Et sanctum nomen eius.
Et sanctum nomen eius.
Okay, now everybody go to the next page. It says to look at mente cordi sui. So, Miguel, sing mente cordi sui in the tenor on the next verse.
I'm trying to find it.
In big brackets, man. Big, huge
okay.
brackets.
Mente cordi sui.
Good. Go back and sing et sanctum nomen eius again.
Takes me a while to scroll up there. Et sanctum nomen eius.
And now sing mente cordi sui.
Mente cordi sui.
Okay, Jordan, what can you tell me about what we just heard?
While there may be different words, they are very similar notes, not identical notes.
Pretty much identical. Rhythmically, there's one difference, but apart from that rhythmical difference, it's exactly the same. So, Jordan, do you see how verse 6 is by Guerrero and verse 4 is by his teacher? Do you see that there are similarities between the way that student and teacher set this same piece?
Absolutely, clearly.
And then also, I was going to ask you. I can't remember what I was going to say, but it'll come as we go. I guess what I'm saying is it's easier to see once it's compared apples to apples when you have them compared like this, as opposed to having to look at a different book transcribed from a different source in a different key. It's easier this way. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, it's helpful.
I mean, it's
Absolutely.
like, it's literally apples to apples. Mode 7, even verses, go, and it's the same. What's remarkable is that Morales was
Amazing.
way ahead of his time. Way ahead of his time. I mean, he's absolutely the most progressive composer. He was writing stuff 50 years before other people were, although you can tell the difference. Okay, so, Jordan, why don't you read the next page, Those Who Sing Renaissance Music.
Those, let's see, make sure I'm on the right
Everybody,
page here. All right.
Screen, can everybody see that big
Yeah.
box where we are?
So those who sing Renaissance music have freedom with regard to text underlay for 3 reasons. First, it is difficult to ascertain the composer's intentions. Second, the part books are not always clear. Third, composers showed flexibility. You want me to go on? Or should we read it? Okay. Verse 6 below is an excellent example, and the editor has changed text underlay based on his study of the part books, which are conveniently printed on the opposite page. Dr. Owen.
Hold on 1 second. Hannah, do you see the part books?
Yeah. Wait.
He just said, Jordan, read that last little bit that you just read.
Verse 6 below is an excellent example, and the editor has changed text underlay based on his study of the part books, which are conveniently printed on the opposite page.
Okay, so Hannah, what are the part books? What do the part books look like? I'm blind. Describe to me the part books. What do they look like?
They're not always clear. That's what it says here.
But
And-
what, I mean, do they have fancy letters, not fancy letters, handwritten? How do you describe them?
Not so fancy
Do
letters.
they begin with a big fancy letter?
No.
They don't?
They begin. I don't see any.
Hannah.
What?
You don't see these huge, massive, big, fancy letters over here? Do you?
I'm not on the right page, sorry.
Oh, okay. Do you see them now?
No, I don't see any big letters.
Well, do you see that I have a spread open that starts on verse 6? Does everyone, I can't see what's on my screen, but do you see how has writing and then it has verse 6, then it has big fancy letters?
Yeah.
Who wants to help Hannah to find where we are?
It's where it says soprano, tenor, alto, and bass, and then it's like split into the 4 sections. And
Do
it's
you have
like
a score? Ashley, hold up your page. So instead of your face, we'll see your score.
it's on my phone.
Okay, Pete's doing it.
Oh, okay, I see it now.
Are you on the right page, Hannah?
Yeah.
Okay. Now do you see the part books?
Yes.
Okay. Do you see that you can literally compare the part books to the modern notation?
Yeah.
Yes or no?
Yeah.
Jordan, this is like a deposition. You have to say yes. Okay.
Well, the witness can say what the witness wants to say. So there.
Hannah, would you describe the part books as very, very clear with regard to the words?
Not exactly.
Not exactly, okay. Who wants to tell me what IJ means? It's written right under there. Why don't you read it, Pete? Alto, when you see IJ, go ahead. Pete?
When you see IJ or 2 slashes, it means some part of the text is repeated. The alto line here demonstrates that it isn't always easy to know which part to repeat. Specifically, should the word in or in be repeated, or just the word bra.
Brachio. Is that clear, guys?
Yeah.
Pete, why don't you point to an IJ so that Hannah can see it?
It's in the soprano line.
Also in alto.
Oh.
See the IJ, guys?
Yeah.
So the editor has a lot of freedom. Would you agree?
Yeah, it seems tough.
Yeah. Now, Iffy, read where Jordan left off. Dr. Owen Reese.
Dr. Owen Reese.
In English.
I don't see it anywhere.
I'm the only one here who speaks Igbo, so I want you to do it so they can understand.
Gets better.
Actually, translate it into Igbo as you're reading it.
Where is this thing, by the way? I can't see what you're
Okay.
playing.
We have to go back to the
Pete,
past
point
pages.
to him.
It's page 6, Iffy.
Page 6. 2, 3, 4.
Iffy, please
Has the Guerrero lines at the top with the different parts.
Okay.
Please look at
So
what
what am I reading
doing
again?
it for you. Pete's doing it for you.
Yeah, I know, but Dr. Owen Reese. Yeah. Professor at Oxford in 2017 published Reworking in the Motets of Francisco Guerrero, a marvelous document, and two of his examples, 1555 verses 1570 to 1557 verses 1589, are provided.
Okay, stop. Do you see them? Do you see them over there provided?
Yeah, to the right.
Does everyone see that they're provided right there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Emily, what's happening in those examples?
What exactly do you mean? Like
By the way, Jordan, if the time runs out, you have to go,
yeah, no problem.
I think you can, or you can relieve us with Kylie.
Yes, exactly. Get an upgrade for everybody.
Emily, do you see what's happening in the examples that Iffy just told you about?
Yeah. I guess it looks like it's comparing two different times.
Two different editions, right?
Yeah.
And in the year 1555, it would have been very simple to make corrections to printing, right? You just go on Skype and you print out a different thing. Oh, it wouldn't be? You have to walk from Italy to Spain, and it's not easy to make corrections. But do you see that he made minor corrections to what's called text underlay, Emily?
Yeah. Like he adds he changes the beat and a half note with the eighth note to a half note.
Yeah.
He leaves it like that.
So do you understand that if he is making changes like that, it means that there can be different freedom to the text underlay, Emily?
Yeah.
Okay. And so that's what it's all about. Now, we have a lot more to go over, and we're not going to just read stuff. However, we are going to read this box because this is a cool box. Ashley, since you're educated, read. Scholars are divided. Go.
Question, Jeff, question. Is it Guerrero correcting this, or is it just an editor making a choice?
Ashley is about to read that very question.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, Ashley, go.
Scholars are divided on whether the text underlay was done by the composer or the publisher. Jane Bernstein, Oxford University Press, 1998, says, a reader would check one of the earliest sheets pulled from the press. The printer, or a professional proofreader knowledgeable in music, presumably did this task for many of the music editions, particularly the anthologies, but a composer or his representative are usually responsible for correcting commissioned publications of his own works. She gives two examples.
Ashley, read with expression, man.
She gives 2 examples where proofreading was undertaken by a surrogate because the composer himself could not be present. Richard Agee, University of Rochester Press, 1998 says, while music historians might be drawn to the possibility of extensive composer collaboration with in-house editing in printing houses, it is most likely that the printers themselves, who would be forced to reset the type of any portions of the book found objectable by the composer, would have wanted as little interference as necessary after they have received a fair copy of the music.
Okay, Iffy, what does that mean? What does that mean, Iffy?
I'm not sure.
Okay, let me give you an example, okay? You give me something to publish, okay? And I go and I put it, you have to put it backwards. You have to put it backwards into metal, okay? Backwards. You have to put it metal into backwards, okay? And I set that entire thing out. And then you call me and you're like, actually, I'm going to make changes. Then I set it in there. And then you say, actually, I'm going to make more changes. And then I set it in there. And then you say, actually, no, I'm going to make more changes. Do you think that's what publishers want to be doing?
Probably not.
That's what this person is saying. That it's very unlikely, you know, that extensive collaboration, they don't want to be constantly making corrections, okay? Now, go on, Ashley. Although he cites...
Sorry, Jeff,
Yeah.
I have to leave. I haven't had dinner. Just wanted to say good. Thank you.
Peace
Thanks
out.
for inviting me. When are you doing this next? When are you doing this next, by the way?
I don't know. If it depends if we have all kind of people leaving for dinner in the middle of it.
It's 9:40. I haven't eaten and I worked out. So.
No, I'm kidding. We'll continue on.
Okay.
We don't have that much longer, though. Okay? Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay. Ashley, although he cites
possible involvement by the composer in the editing process in the cases of editions of Cipriano de
Rore,
Gioseffo Zarlino, and Orlando de Lassus, Agee nevertheless and concludes that as standard practice, it would appear that composers rarely participated in the proofreading process.
Okay, stop. What does that mean, Hannah?
It means that they're not there to proofread their own work.
In my opinion, he's saying, look, it's not unheard of, okay? It's not absolutely unheard of. We know it happened with De Rore, we know it happened with Zarlino, and we know it happened with Lassus. But it's rare, right?
Yeah.
It's a rare thing, okay? All right, Jordan, finish us. But Tess Knighton.
But Tess Knighton, the Bulletin of Spanish Studies 2012, emphasizes the evidence from Spanish printing contracts which say, quote, it was the composer who was responsible for proofreading and corrections, end quote.
So
we can,
yeah, that's kind of your answer, right?
Well, that's yes, I think that's the answer that you know, that we could draw from the fact that there's, as you point out, the rest of this paragraph, that there's a remarkable perfection to some of the compositions, and so it's surprising to think that there was some proofreader, surrogate, who had no knowledge of what the composer wanted to accomplish, who was responsible for setting these to words. So in all likelihood, there was you know, the composer had at least a hand in, if not, you know, was actively involved in doing it.
That last little bit is actually me talking. So
Right.
Miguel, why don't you read what I say when we consider? I want to hear myself. I just realized there's a stray quotation mark at the end there. Yikes.
Oh, wow. Okay, let's see. When we consider the utter perfection of the Renaissance compositions, it is somewhat difficult to accept that composers such as Guerrero did not care whether their scores were reproduced accurately. It would be like suggesting that Michelangelo never bothered to pop his head into the Sistine Chapel to see how the ceiling came out.
So look, there's freedom. There's freedom. Okay, let's go on. Does that make sense? We don't really know. We don't really know who's doing these corrections. Is it the printer? Is it the composer? Is it his representative? Okay. Y'all loving this, right? This is good stuff, right?
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Okay. Let us see what else you need to know. On verse 8, we'll finish this up really quickly. I don't have much more for you here, okay? There's a lot more that you can read if you want, but we're not going to hit that right now. Who has the melody? Who has the chant melody in verse 8, Hannah?
I'm still checking. I don't know. Is it us? Sopranos?
Pete, help Hannah out. Read the section above the bassus.
Let's see. The second
And read it
verse,
very slowly. The second verse, Father Guerrero placed the psalm tone in soprano. Read that.
Okay. The second verse, Father Guerrero placed the psalm tone in soprano. The fourth verse, Father Morales placed the psalm tone in tenor. The sixth verse, Father Guerrero also placed the psalm tone in tenor, allowing apples to apples comparison. The eighth
Hey,
verse,
Hannah, pay attention to what he's about to say. Go ahead, Pete.
Yeah, I'm reading from the.
The eighth verse, Father Guerrero has the psalm tone in the bass voice, transposed down a fourth.
That's it. So which voice has the psalm tone in this piece, Hannah?
Bass.
Bass. Now, do you see, Pete, can you point to the bassus there, Estudiantes? Point it out to Hannah. Hannah, you see that?
Yeah.
Why don't try to make sense of that a little bit. Try to sing that. Just try to sing it. A little bit, just the way it looks.
Are you talking about this one? Because your screen is like your screen is different from what
Here,
we're
Pete,
seeing.
Pete, show her again.
Alan?
See it?
Yeah.
Jordan, can you make sense of that? Oh, Jordan is gone. Can you make sense of that, Miguel?
Which part? Sorry, I was a little distracted. Okay, that. All right.
Just try to make sense of it a little bit for us.
Les orientes implevit bonis, et dimites dimisiti nones, dimisiti nones.
Okay, so what does that sound like, Ashley?
The original
The
chant.
psalm tone, right?
Yeah.
Okay, let's all turn the page. Now, we're almost done here. Emily, read the top there. The following verse.
The following verse, verse number 10, comes from Palestrina's collection of Magnificat settings, published in Rome, 1591 AD. There is nothing wrong with what Father Guerrero wrote for verse 10, but now you can compare what other composers did. The plain song melody is more or less used in canon at the unison, soprano, and tenor.
Okay. So, Noemi, what does that mean?
That soprano and tenor both sing the same. The canon, you're singing the canon of the piece.
Why does it say more or less? It's not exactly a strict canon, okay?
Yeah, it slightly changes, right?
So what I did for you is do you see that at the top, I basically made it very clear what's happening there in that little square?
Yeah.
And what about over here? Do you see a big underlined word that says notice them? Do you see that?
Yes.
And are those identical, the tenor and soprano, et semini eius in secula, are those identical, Noemi? By the way, can you guys see me highlighting this?
Yes.
Yeah.
Are those
Yeah.
identical, Noemi?
So no, they're not. I mean, if you're referring to the notes, there's certain notes that do change, like
So
the
this one is not
quarter
identical,
note.
right?
Right.
And what about this one?
The first measure.
See that?
Yes.
Are these identical? No.
No.
No, because this one's,
Oh,
this one is
I'm
tied. Do you
sorry.
see that one's tied? This one
Sorry,
is
I
only
was on
one.
the phone. Yeah.
Right? Okay.
Right.
So basically, it's basically kind of like a little canon, but not a strict canon. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, Ashley, which measure does the tenor start to enter and imitate the soprano? Which measure?
Are we going based off of this page where it says an organist, the one that you have highlighted, or?
Well, right now I'm talking about the actual song.
Oh, okay.
So, do you see what I have highlighted now?
Uh-huh. You said tenor and soprano?
Yes. Which one comes in first and which one comes in second?
Soprano comes in first, and then the tenor comes in like later.
In measure what?
In measure through 4?
95, right?
Oh, 95, yeah.
Okay. So that's what's kind of going on in this piece, okay? Now there's also other things going on in the piece too. Do you see that it says, well, why don't you read this, Pete?
This ascending free counter melody, free meaning not derived from the plain song, occurs at least 5 times.
So what do you interpret that as meaning, Pete?
5 times in this piece, there will be the canon.
Well, it's
Loose
an
canons.
accompaniment. It's an accompaniment figure. Do you see how it goes? Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, fa, mi. And then
Yeah.
the bass goes fa, sol, la, ti, do, re, te, la.
Yeah.
And then the alto goes do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, fa, mi. You see how those are little accompanying figures?
Yeah.
So it's kind of a little bit, but that does not come from the plain song. Do you understand? It's a free melody. He just wrote it, okay? So that's kind of what's going on in this piece, okay? So who wants to be really smart here? Hannah.
I'm not smart, so next person.
Well, just try. Does this seem different or similar to all the other pieces we looked at so far?
It seems kind of similar, but also like a bit different.
How different?
Oh, but some tones are different from, I mean, not tones, but like some of the notes.
Well, let me put it this way and see if you agree, okay? I would suggest to you that the other movements that we have looked at always have the psalm tone in augmentation in one of the voices. Fair enough?
Yeah.
This piece, however, doesn't really do that. It kind of has a canon which kind of is based on the psalm tone, but in a very difficult way to understand. And it's not really used in augmentation, I would not say. Not really. I mean, a little bit, but not really. So do you see that Palestrina has a slightly different approach than what we've looked at so far?
Yeah.
All right. Okay, let's wrap this thing up. Let's turn the page. Who sees a giant big S? Who sees a giant big S?
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And which do you like better, the S or this giant M? Look at the M that I'm looking at. There's a few pages later. Pete, which do you like better, the M or the S?
Ooh, that's tough. I'll pick the M.
The M?
Oh, I know why. It's the Magnificat, isn't it?
The M has a bird.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd pick the M.
Okay, Ashley, which do you like better?
I like the S because I feel like you can tell it's an S, whereas the M is so decorated, it's kind of like not.
It does have a pretty cool ligature, though, doesn't it? Magnificat.
Yeah.
Hey, what do you think of this A, guys? Check this out.
It's an A.
Look at this A.
Alex.
Can you see the A?
That's a weird A. Yeah, no.
That's
It
a
has
How can
lot
you
of
tell?
birds in there.
A bird is biting its head off.
What?
See that?
Oh, wow.
Oh my gosh, what?
I should write my name like that.
Nice. Huh? Okay, so getting back to business, Hannah, why don't you read Father Guerrero follows a very common practice. Go ahead.
Father Guerrero follows a very common practice in this final movement. He adds an extra voice. Jeff Ostrowski has called this voice quintus and recommends that altos and tenors join together for a variety of reasons. Can I continue?
Yes.
Father Sebastian de Vivanco, ordained priest in 1581, was the first peninsular composer to make a regular habit of printing two alternate Gloria settings at his Magnificat endings. The first Gloria not increasing the number of voices, nor displaying the composer's
Contrapuntal?
contrapuntal
No.
prowess.
You know, the technical way to pronounce that is actually contrapuntal.
Contrapuntal prowess. The second Gloria increasing voices and spurting with contrapuntal geysers. This observation comes from Robert Merle Stevenson. A printed rubric always appears at the end of the simpler Gloria and usually reads as follows: Verte folium et alternam videvis. Turn the leaf and you will see another Gloria. Such a wonderful and practical idea.
Okay, what does that mean, Hannah? What does all that stuff mean?
It means that there's two different kinds of endings to the Magnificat.
Well, not in this one. This one only has one. What does he do in this movement, Hannah, that's special? Right in the first sentence you read.
He adds an extra voice.
Exactly. Now, Emily, why would he add an extra voice in the final movement?
Maybe because it's the finale of the piece.
Yeah, to make it more special, right?
Yeah.
Now, Robert Merle Stevenson was a professor. He was the greatest musicologist of all time. He worked at UCLA. Anyone ever heard of UCLA?
No.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
where he worked. And he knew my teacher and many other people, okay? But he would often go down to South America and Mexico to do his studies, okay? Now, what does he say about Father Sebastian de Vivanco, Noemi?
He was a priest that was ordained in 1581. He was the first
Right, but
peninsular
first of all, how do you say
composer.
his name?
Father Sebastian de Vivanco.
Very
Is that
cool.
right?
Now, what does he mention about him? What does he do that's interesting?
He is the first peninsular composer. Oops, my screen went blank. Hold on.
Hannah just read it to you.
What did he do that was so?
What is this talking about? What did Hannah just read to us? What does it mean? Pete?
Sorry, I was distracted by someone messing with my neighbor's yard.
Ashley.
He wrote 2 alternate Glorias. The first one that was sung didn't have as many voices as the second one, like
What?
the finale.
Exactly
Gloria.
right. Exactly right. And why would he do that?
He just added an extra voice in the last Glory because, like what Emily said, it was like the finale.
Why would he give 2 alternate versions?
So people can pick which one they want?
Based on what? Why would they pick?
If he had enough singers?
Yes. If you can't handle the fancy version, you can do the easier version. Makes sense?
Mm-hmm.
Now, do we have that option in this particular Magnificat?
I think so.
Ashley.
Well, I know you add the quintus, so we definitely
We
have.
do not have that option. We do not have that option.
Okay, so we're just doing the fancy one.
We have to find out. We have to divide our voices differently. What we're probably going to do is put some altos on the quintus voice. Okay?
Okay.
Make sense?
Yes.
Now, Miguel, which voice has the plain song in this one?
The alto?
Yes, it does. Why don't you try to sing the alto a little bit for us and see if you can make sense of it?
Well, I don't have an A. Can I just sing at any pitch?
Was I able to zoom in for you?
Oh, this one. Oh, yes.
Just give us the general contour.
Si puderat in principio et nunc et semper et in saecula saeculorum. Lo, what saeculorum. Amen.
Okay, good. Now, what does that sound like, Hannah?
I'm getting confused.
What does that sound like, Hannah?
Sounds like I don't know. Sorry, I was kind of distracted.
It's the psalm tone melody we've been talking about for like an hour. Do you know mode 7, Hannah?
Yeah, he was singing earlier.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's the psalm tone melody spread out from earlier. Okay? Why don't you sing the Gloria Patri for me, Hannah? Gloria Patri et Filio et Spiritui Sancto. Do you see it written there on page 13?
Yeah.
Can you sing that for me?
Can you sing it again and I'll follow?
Gloria Patri et Filio et Spiritui Sancto.
Sorry, just like. What's the first note? I can't seem to get the
You
first
can do it
note.
in any. You can do it in any note you want. You could go. Gloria Patri et Filio et Spiritui Sancto.
Sorry, et Spiritui Sancto.
Emily, you do it first. Emily, go.
Emily's you're muted.
Emily, we can't hear you.
You're on mute. You have to. There you go.
Oh, sorry, I don't know. Gloria Patria Filio et Spiritui Sancto.
Do it again.
Gloria Patria Filio et Spiritui Sancto.
Hannah, do it.
Sorry, just like my mom's calling me to
Okay.
do something. Sorry, just a sec.
Judy's daughter, do it. Sorry, I couldn't remember your name. Emily, sing it one more time.
Gloria Patria Filio et Spiritui Sancto. Do I do the next one also?
No, I want her to sing it. Sing it, Ashley.
Gloria, oh my gosh. Gloria Patri et Filio et Spiritui Sancto.
Emily, do it again.
Gloria Patri et Filio et Spiritui Sancto.
Is that right? Is that right?
No, Amy, sing it.
Yeah, you see it.
Gloria Patri.
No. Gloria Patri et Filio.
Sorry, my screen is turning off. Gloria
No.
Patri.
Gloria.
It's that do T. Gloria Patri et Filio et Spiritui Sancto.
Close. Emily, do it again. They're not getting it. Do it.
Gloria Patri et Filio et Spiritui Sancto.
Okay. You do that, Emily or Noemi or somebody else besides Emily. Go. Hannah, Ashley, somebody do it.
Gloria Patri et Filio et Spiritui Sancto.
Yeah, we can't end this until we all do it. Hannah, do it. Gloria. Emily, do it again so she can hear it. Come on.
Gloria Patri et Filio et Spiritui Sancto.
Hannah.
Oh.
Okay, closer. We need to work on mode 7, okay? Because do you see that the alto is the one that sings the melody in this one?
Yeah.
It's very spread out. Look at, do you see measure 125? Hannah, do you see that? Ashley, do you see that? Pete, do you see that?
I see it.
Okay, what's happening there, Pete? Measure 125, alto.
There's a lot of eighth notes descending and then going back
No,
up. And then descending again.
alto.
Oh, alto. Oh, holding a lot of notes.
So what are they doing? What are they doing there? What is that? It's the whole point of this whole conversation. I give you a hint. He did it in verse 2. He did it in verse 4. He did it in verse 6. And
He's mimicking the. I forget what it was. He was mimicking something.
Come on, Pete. The whole conversation we've been talking about one thing the entire time. He does it in every movement except number 10. Hannah, what is he doing?
He has a lot of long notes.
But what are those long notes? What are they?
The melody?
What melody? Mary Had a Little Lamb?
No, the plain song? I don't know.
But which one? There's 2,000 different plain songs. Which one? Which melody?
Mode 7, right?
Mode 7 psalm tone, right?
Just augment it, like what you said.
Exactly. Exactly right. I mean, do you see what's happening, and do you see what I'm highlighting here in measure 130? Look at all those long notes. Look at what I highlighted. Measure 136. Everybody go to 136. Pete, point to it so they can see it. It's et in secula secu. What does that sound like to you, Noemi? What does that sound like? Why is it just all on one note? What is that like? We do it all Vespers. We sing it just all Vespers, the same thing. It starts with psalm and it ends with tone. Psalm tone. Okay, here's what we're going to do. We're all going to say this. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I think we're going to have to end this because you guys are driving me nuts here. Miguel, repeat after me.
Okay.
In this piece.
In this piece.
The composer.
The composer.
Takes mode 7 psalm tone.
Takes mode 7 psalm tone.
Augments it and places it in each voice.
Augments it and places it in each voice.
Pete, repeat after me. In this piece.
In this piece.
The composer.
The composer.
Takes mode 7 psalm tone.
Takes mode 7 psalm tone.
Augments it and places it in each voice.
Augments it and places it in each voice.
Hannah, repeat after me. In verse 2.
In verse 2.
It appears in the soprano.
It appears in the soprano.
In verse 4.
In verse 4.
It appears in the tenor.
It appears in the tenor.
In verse 6.
In verse 6.
It appears in the tenor.
It appears in the tenor.
In verse 8.
In verse 8.
It appears in the bass.
It appears in the bass.
In verse 12.
In verse 12.
It appears in the...
It appears in the bass. Sorry, tenor. Alto?
Yes. Ashley.
Hi.
Are you understanding what's happening?
Yes.
Is this basic?
Yeah, I guess.
Okay, then explain it to me.
So basically you have your psalm tone. It's in mode 7. And the composer is putting it in each of the different voices at different verses, and he's augmenting it. So it's kind of like spread out, and then all the other voices, he like puts all these other notes in the other voices. So it sounds nice when you sing it all together.
Sounds incredible. It's beyond anything that anyone's ever heard. It's incredible. But does he do it for every single verse?
I don't think so. No.
This one, right?
10.
We talked about that one, right? It's different, right? 10's a little bit different. And it's the same composer for all the verses, correct? Ashley?
No. One of them's replaced by Cristol de Morales, whatever his name is.
One of them is Morales, one of them is Palestrina, right?
Uh-huh.
So, Noemi, do you understand what's happening?
Yes, I do now.
Okay, then explain it to me.
Oh gosh. Oh, so there's the voice. The piece is augmented. Each verse.
The piece is
Each verse,
the piece is not augmentated.
the verses are. See,
The
I'm sorry, I
psalm
can't
tone.
explain. I understood
The
it.
psalm tone.
The psalm tone. Yes. Ashley explained it right. I understood it when she said. I can't re-explain it. I'm sorry. I'm not a musician, Jeff. I'm not a musician.
Okay, well, we'll do this. Do this. Listen to this song. Mary had a little lamb. Who's heard that song?
We all did, yeah.
What is this? Mary had a... What is that?
It's the same music, just a different way you're singing it.
No. It's taking a melody
Stretched out.
and it's
Stretched
augmenting
out.
it. Okay, Emily,
Augment.
sing Mary Had a Little Lamb in the soprano voice. Go ahead. Augmentate. Using augmentation. Go. No. Do it up higher. Do it up higher because I'm going to have you do it in the alto in a second. Do it in soprano.
Like, how high should I?
Mary. That.
Okay.
No, too fast. Too fast. Do it again. And sometimes he puts rests. Hold it. Sometimes he puts rests. And then he continues. Go. Continue. Okay.
Sorry.
Pete, can you augmentate Mary Had a Little Lamb in the bass? As low as you can.
You're muted.
Your volume.
I said I could try. Let's see.
Okay, go ahead. No, you're going too fast. Slow it down. Yeah. So look, when you see, good. So when you see stuff like this, okay, do you all see that?
Yes.
Is Hannah still there? She had to go. Do you all see that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you understand what that is?
Yeah.
What is it, Miguel?
It's just an augmented part of the psalm tone.
Exactly. Is this hard or easy, folks?
Easy.
I've done all the work for you. I had to take it
Thank
from the
you, Jeff.
original manuscripts and put it in, okay? Before we go, I gave you some more examples here so you can see what other stuff has been done. Do you see page 16? Noemi, do you see page 16?
I'm heading towards it right now. Yes.
Do you remember how we looked, what we're singing is the even settings? Do you remember that?
The even setting versus even. Yes, even and odd. Or, yeah.
What I gave you on 16, I wanted you to see a little bit of the odd settings, okay?
Okay.
So really quickly, what does it say there at the bottom? Read this, Noemi, where it says this here.
We will not be surprised. Verse 7 has a PSTN in tenor.
Okay, what's PSTN? What's PSTN?
Psalm tone.
Hey,
Okay,
Ashley, you're not Naomi.
Miguel, sing this.
Yeah.
Sing this.
Okay.
Go.
It's kind of small. What page is that on? So I can find it.
16.
Oh, okay, the tenor. I kind of can't tell what that first part is. Just.
De posuit
Oh, okay,
potentes
got it.
de sede.
De posuit potentes de sede, et exaltavi humiles.
What does that sound like, Ashley?
Our psalm tone.
Yes. Are we surprised that he's using mode 7 psalm tone augmented?
No.
Surprised.
No.
So we probably wouldn't be surprised when we saw the odd setting, would we?
No.
Okay. And I at the very much page, do you see page 18? I wanted to show you how Lassus did it. Suscepit Israel puerum sum recordatus misericordiae suae. Okay, Ashley, tell me which voice has the psalm tone in this Lassus on page 19.
The tenor.
How do you know that?
Notice how in verse 10 below,
You cheated.
places.
You cheated.
You didn't say I couldn't do that.
Okay, well, sing it with me, okay? It goes, Sicut locutus est ad patres nostros. That's the psalm tone, okay?
Okay.
So before we go, this is the final thing. When you see notes like this in a Magnificat setting, do you understand that's probably a clue that it's a psalm tone?
Yeah.
Because why else would you have a piece that goes da 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 da? Is that considered great music?
Not usually.
No, it's not great music to have da 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 da. Okay. So when I send you the video of the recording, you're going to be amazed because it's absolutely incredible what he does with this. And can I tell you a secret before you go?
Sure.
Can I ask a question first?
Yeah, go ahead.
That note that it repeats over and over again, that was called the tenor note, right?
Yeah, that's kind of confusing, isn't it? But that's what it was called.
Yeah. Okay. Don't want to
So you
forget.
can have the tenors repeating the tenor.
Yeah.
And it's also, the tenor is also refers to a specific note of the mode. So you can have the tenors repeating the tenor of the mode, and I don't like the tenor of their voice. But
Okay, then.
Can I tell you my secret?
Please do.
By the time you get to the end of this piece, Guerrero disguises the psalm tone so much when he places it in the alto, you can't even hear it. You can't even recognize it. So do you see how he takes it? He starts out putting it in soprano. That's the most obvious voice, right? Are we all in agreement that soprano is the most obvious voice?
Yeah.
With each passing thing, he disguises it more and more. And then by the time he gets to the final variation, you can't even hear it anymore, but it's there. So, okay, I think I think I've put you through enough, and I'll let you go in peace, okay?
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing all this. I don't always get a chance to talk about the music. You know, we just practice the music and we don't learn about it. So as you're learning, it's going to take us a long time to learn all these different movements. And as you're learning them, you'll learn more and more about them. And it's an incredible piece. The practice videos are not the real thing, but they will give you a sense of how incredible what he does with a simple little melody. He just says a little tiny, simple little melody, and he makes it great, okay? And he has all kinds of variety, you know? It's really cool, actually. This is not anything that anybody knows about. They don't teach this stuff in colleges. We're transcribing all this music for our church for the first time. This is not something that's commonly known. We're learning about this by looking at it. Is that not cool?
So cool.
At the same time, you would agree that this is not up for debate. I mean, he clearly uses melodies in each voice, right?
Yeah.
But there's no book. Guerrero didn't leave us a book where he says, hey guys, I'm going to write this piece and I'm going to use the melody in each voice. The singers just would have known that back then.
You have to basically discover it yourself, right?
Yeah, it's and the music, I mean, this is an awesome piece. I'd like to know when you start singing this and practicing this tonight. I'll put the videos up. I would be very interested in which variation you like the best. They're all different. They're all different, and the final one has a long run for the altos. It's really cool. So, listen, you guys are awesome, and we'll be in touch. I'm going to try to have a Zoom meeting with the whole choir. We'll figure out what's going on with all this COVID-19. Okay.
Okay.
All right. God bless.
Thank you.